are going to be talking about the astrology of April, not just the astrology, the kind of general energetics. I'm going to pull some cards. I've got this tarot deck, the Tarot of Mystical Moments, which I intuitively chose to pull cards for this coming period. It is a big April, like when I was looking at the overall forecast for 2024, April is a big month. It is a really big month. We've got a lot going on, which, you know, I will break that down. We'll have a look at the details and things like that. But the major kind of overall things that we've got going is we've got the solar eclipse, which is going to be, it's a total solar eclipse because it is very, very close to the nodes. And so it's going to have a bigger impact on everybody, really. We have also got Mercury turning retrograde very soon. Oh, hi, Liz. That's good. So there's people here and you can see me and hear me. So that's really, really good. And we've also got Jupiter and Uranus actually forming they're perfecting that conjunction in Taurus, which has been building up for such a long time. It feels like it's been, you know, we've been bubbling, simmering, and now this month we're actually going to get that exact conjunction of Jupiter and Uranus, which is a really big deal. You know, it's a really big deal for us all on a global scale, and depending on your own personal chart, you know, if you've got significant placements in Taurus, or if Taurus is your 7th house. So if, you know, it'll have a really big impact on you, potentially on your relationships and stuff as well. The whole theme of this month is to do with self and other, because we are working with that. Hey, Pam. Oh, thank you. Because we're working on that Aries Libra axis, we have got those themes of self and other, because Aries is like, it's the first sign of the zodiac. It's got that kind of explosive initiatory qualities. Like, you know, if you've got a lot of Aries in your chart, if you're an Aries sun or Aries rising, you'll recognize that kind of just like, it's like, let's do it, you know. It's very forward pushing. It's a fire sign, it's a cardinal fire sign, so it's like got that initiatory energy, but it's also very like personally orientated. So it's like, I am going to do this, you know, I will make this happen. So it's very like I focused. Whereas the opposite sign, Libra, which is where we've just had our full moon just on Monday, is very other focused. You know, it's sometimes we, you know, it's a partnership, but it's also you know, like relationships, but it can also be like the other. So it's kind of like the stuff that is not us. And sometimes we can tend to like project a little bit over there as well, you know. So we've got those kind of, oh no, that's not me. But because we've got this like this energy being activated now, and we've got this major eclipse happening, there's a real opportunity to start to own some of those things which are perhaps not, you think, oh, that's not me, but maybe it is you. You know, if there's things that you admire in other people, you see people doing something, sometimes you might think, oh, why, I wish I could do that. We have got the opportunity to kind of flip things on their head this month now, and we can take some of that initiative, because the North Node is in Aries, the South Node is in Libra. We can leave behind some of that kind of programming about other things that like, that's not me, I can't do that because that's not me, or people will not expect that from me as well. You know, like those kind of expectations of others as well is very stirred up in this month. So we've got that whole I've been talking about this a lot with the members as well, with the Moonwise members. We're not being good girls anymore, because good girls, we've been trained, we've been socialized to kind of toe the line, to be like, yes, to put ourselves kind of last in line and make sure we're always focusing on the other, or making sure that we prioritize relationships, we prioritize the other. And in this period of time now, we've got this opportunity to switch that up and start to prioritize ourselves. And like, if immediately you're thinking, wow, oh no, okay, that's not me, I'm not selfish like that, that's bringing up some of that programming, because we are trained as women to be selfless. And that means kind of sometimes can mean like, you know, it's great sometimes to be selfless and to be really giving to other people, but only if that is from a place of fulfillment of ourselves. When we are like literally sacrificing ourselves, our self-worth, our self-esteem, our even the very core of what it is to be us, when we are sacrificing that in order to put others first, then that's not being selfless. That is literally like self-sacrificing, is self-sabotage. And that is something that we have got the opportunity to step away from in this eclipse. And I'm like, I'm so here for it. I'm so here for it. Oh, hi, Siren. Oh, Pam said that you were just thinking about that earlier. Yeah. I think so many people are thinking about it. There was a post shared over in the Circle of Kindred, the Facebook group, which is like associated with this channel. And it was about how instead of being nice, we can be kind. And I thought that was a really interesting reframing of it as well, because it's like when we are nice, we're always kind of like putting our own knees backwards and we're sort of saying, yes, I can do that. You know, can you do this by this very short deadline? Oh, yes, yeah, I can do that. Or, you know, could you go out this evening and do this, even though like you're really tired and you haven't really got anything else left to give? And you're like, yeah, okay, I can do that, because we're always being nice. Whereas if we are kind, we can acknowledge like the request and we can be like, oh, I can see that you need help with this. I can't actually do that now, but perhaps, you know, we could do this instead. Or, you know, we don't have to be like really mean. There's no need to be like mean about it, but we can be more self-centered. Like self-centered, that's a word again that's got like a lot of negative connotations to it, but like when we think about being centered, about being grounded, that is something that we want, and we should be centered and grounded in ourselves. Like the universe literally for each of us revolves around us, and when we can kind of claim that place as the kind of center place, it's not detrimental to the people around us. It's actually helpful for the people around us, because we stop kind of enabling them to do certain stuff and to treat us in different way, you know, in certain ways that are not helpful, and which actually like facilitate poor behavior in them as well. And so, yeah, I'm really excited. I'm excited for this month. It is going to feel probably like a lot. I put a post on Facebook and here on the channel as well, actually on the community tab, about how when we're in this eclipse season, and especially with it being Aries eclipse season as well, a lot of people are having sore eyes at the moment, and so people's eyes are irritated, and even maybe even getting like infections and stuff like that as well. And if I don't know if you follow the work of Louise Hay, but she's passed away now, but she talks about how the way that we, like when there's an issue, it manifests in physical issues in our body quite often. And when we have irritated eyes, it's because we are seeing something irritating. And like, you know, we really are. We're seeing lots of things at the moment, like, you know, war, where innocent people are being slaughtered. Just so many things. The way that people are treated in society is not good at the moment. And so we are seeing things like that, and our eyes are getting irritated. And this especially so around this eclipse. And so yes, this energy is really, it can be really positive, and we can work with it to make some really great changes. Oh, hey, Michelle. So we can kind of seize that, but also, like, I feel like I always say this, but really also take so much space for like really caring for yourself as well, because when there are big shifts happening, it's easy to kind of feel overwhelmed. And so hold space for yourself in that, you know, to be able to make those shifts. And a lot of the shifts will probably be like internal first of all as well, so holding space for those kind of internal shifts. Oh, hey Trish. It's allow that shift to take place, and then we've got like a whole 6 months really until we get to the opposite equinox. When we get to the autumn for me equinox, if you're the southern hemisphere, it'll be the vernal equinox, the spring equinox, because that's when we get back into eclipse season again. That we've got all that time to kind of integrate these changes. So this is going to be a big month, and we need to kind of give ourselves space and time to kind of process those things. Oh, hey Rita. Oh, what's Pam saying? Today's oracle pull was of being grounded, centered, with self-healing. Yes, definitely. Self-centered. Like I think that would be like my keyword for April, to be self-centered. And Trish, actually, if you go on Trish's channel, I think if you click her name in the chat, you can see her channel is doing like hosting a vices, you know, like the deadly sins. And we are reclaiming some of those sins. So like instead of having like gluttony as being like, you know, I won't bother, I'm not going to go into it all here. You go over and watch a video because it explains it all really, really well. But we're reframing that, because so, you know, for so many of us, we have been socialized into being like, yes, you know, I can do this, I can always do the thing for the other, and it's time now to do the thing for ourselves. So we're going to self-center in April. Ross saying this is very interesting. The eyes have been irritated on and off since October last year. Yes, because that is when like we had our last eclipse season as well, you know. So we are irritated. We're irritated with what we're seeing, and we want to. And from a practical perspective, what I've been doing for that for my eyes is I've been using like warm compresses, and some like you can do this if you've got like chamomile tea bags or something as well. You can just place them on the eyes to soothe them. But it's not really going to go away unless we can kind of acknowledge, like that's what Louise Hay shares about in her work. It's like when we can realize what our body is communicating to us with these things that are coming up, is that we you know, we need to acknowledge that, and then we can move forward. So it's like, oh yeah, my eyes are irritated. It's not just a random occurrence. It's because there are things that I'm seeing that are irritating me, and so we can work with that as well. Michelle, yeah, I've so enjoyed delving into Black Lent. Yes, so like Lent is finishing very soon. Well, it's Saturday today in the Easter weekend, but you know, I don't think it really matters in a way. You could take any 40 days and 40 nights to do that work. So yeah, definitely go and watch Trish's video about that. It's so cool, really, really cool. I've been working with Roth because that is something that I find really difficult and is very on point actually. With the stuff that we've been that I'm talking about. So I've made some notes for like a more detailed breakdown for this month. Let me just grab those up on my computer. So I'll put a more like kind of day by day kind of granular breakdown of the of everything that's happening through the month. So if you want to have it as more kind of like literally I'll be like I don't go every single day because like some days there's not so many significant things happening, but it's like April 1st, this is what's happening. April 3rd, this is what's happening. And then how you can kind of use that energy. So if you want that, I haven't like published it as a proper blog post yet, but if you want that, I put a link in the description of this video so you can get the Moon Day Magic Mail, and I'll have a link in there which will have all the information in a more kind of you know, because I think sometimes people watch these videos and they take notes and stuff, and that's great, you know, like if you want to do that and you want to put it in your journal and stuff, then that is completely fine. But I think it's helpful sometimes to have it kind of written out, you know, it's easier. It's like having a worksheet for it all. So that is available there. And I'll also, when I'm going to pull some cards as well, so I'll also put a photograph of the cards and do a write-up there so that it's kind of all together in one place. So like I said, if you want to get that, you can get the email link if you sign up to the Moon Day Magic Mail, which hopefully is linked in the description for this video. So yes, so there's that. So let's just go through a few of the key dates. So one of the things that is happening in April is that we have got Mercury retrograde, and Mercury retrograde in Aries. So that is something that, you know, is very over talked about in a way now. You know, everybody knows about Mercury retrograde. And lots of the time people are kind of like, okay, yeah, so you, like, it's the obvious things, like I shouldn't sign contracts, you shouldn't kind of like make long-ranging plans, things like that. Communication, often people have things with the, oh brilliant, thanks Siren, it's in the description, the Moon Day Magic Mail link, that's perfect. So if you put your mail in there on Monday, you'll get a link which will have the link to all the blog and everything in there. So yeah, so things that might go wrong are things to do with communication. I also find like machines in general, like machines are very like Mercury orientated. So sometimes you get things like washing machines breaking down or dishwashers breaking down and things like that as well. So like the reason people talk about those things is because they do happen. They do happen in Mercury retrograde, but it's kind of got like a little bit of a bad press in that it's like, oh, don't do anything. You basically stay inside, get into bed, put the covers over your head for 3 weeks. Like realistically, Mercury retrograde happens 3 times a year. We can't realistically take 9 weeks out of the year and just hide from, you know, doing any kind of Mercury things. We need to be able to do Mercury things. We need to be able to travel. We need to be able to speak to people. So basically, the best way to approach it is to see this as a time where there is potential for, especially because it's in Aries as well, there's a potential for kind of like perhaps heated problems with communication, overheating of other things as well. You might get overheating of appliances and things like that as well with the Mercury Aries, because like Mercury and Mars are not traditionally like friends. So because Mars is the ruler of Aries and Mercury is like in that sign, it's like, yeah, it's a bit more irritating. It is more irritating, and this whole month is a little bit like got that kind of, it's not going to feel relaxing. It is going to feel quite high paced probably, and quite stimulating. it's got that kind of stimulating quality. Like we've had that lovely period of time with Venus in Pisces, which has allowed us to kind of relax a little bit and get a little bit of just that kind of divine feminine, kind of centered in self, grounded energy. But this month is going to challenge that a little bit. We've still got quite a lot of placements of planets in Pisces, so it's not, we haven't completely lost that. But with the Mercury retrograde in Aries and like the general Aries stuff that is going on with the sun being there and having the sun and the moon being there for the eclipse, and you know, and the North Node because it's the eclipse, there's that irritated energy. And we've also got the Jupiter and Uranus is a disruptive energy. And so when Jupiter magnifies things. So when we get Uranus and Jupiter together, Jupiter tends to magnify the disruptive possibilities of Jupiter, in Taurus. So we've got that kind of disruption of things like food supply in the, you know, when Uranus first moved into Taurus, we got lots of things like having problems getting hold of like everyday staples that we kind of took for granted, you know, like toilet paper and some different types of foods and stuff like that. You know, it was like, oh, hang on, the things we kind of take for granted that we can always get our hands on are now not necessarily available to us. So that's been a thing ever since Uranus moved into Taurus, has kind of been disrupting that. And depending on where your own personal astrology, like what house that is in, like if Taurus is your first house, if you're Taurus rising, then you've probably felt this as being more of a disruptive of like who you are as a person. Like perhaps you're starting to see yourself in a whole different way. Or if you've got if Taurus is your 10th house, then you might be feeling that like you're making huge differences in how you want to kind of present yourself in the world. Your career, perhaps you might change jobs, things like that, you know. But overall, the energy of this month is quite stimulating. So we want, like, if we're going with that, it's like we're going to be like, yeah, you know, I want to do all the things. But then we've got this Mercury retrograde. So we're going to need to just kind of put some checks and balances in. That's basically the way to deal with a Mercury retrograde, and also to use it as a opportunity to reintegrate. Like whenever any of the planets go a retrograde, it's always an opportunity to reintegrate, to kind of revise some of that learning that has happened with that planet. So when we've got Mercury in Aries, it's usually about kind of like direct communication. Are we being direct in our communication? Are we being direct enough in our communication? Like quite often, that's another side effect of being socialized as a woman, as like be a good girl, is that we tend to use indirect communication quite often, because direct communication is seen as too assertive, too aggressive even, you know, and we get judged for that. So it would be a really good time during this Mercury retrograde, which is basically the first 3 weeks of April, to have a look at our own communication and sort of see, am I assertive enough? You know, like I'm feeling like that is the way that it's going. It's more a case of, because the North Node is there in Aries, we want more of that. We want to be able to speak our truth clearly and without fear, really, without kind of holding back, without being passive aggressive. Like Mercury retrograde in Aries could be quite passive aggressive, so there is a tendency towards that. So notice that, you know, really notice that this month. And if there is friction in relationships, you know, we have got, like I said at the start, we've got this Aries Libra axis, which is self and other, it is relationships and self. So there likely is going to be some friction in relationships during this month. So evaluate your own part in that. Evaluate like your own speaking, your own listening. Am I passive aggressive? Am I assertive enough in my communication? Am I kind of hoping that other people around me are going to just intuit what it is that I need without me having to actually say what it is I need? Because it sometimes doesn't feel safe to say what we need. Again, you know, that's another thing to do with that whole self-other thing, is that we tend to put our own needs to the back of the queue. And sometimes that even results in, and I know this has happened for me, is that I've almost like lose touch with what it is I actually need as well, you know? So it's like, I don't even know what my own needs are anymore. And like, I've had to do a lot of inner work to kind of get a handle on that, you know, to get a handle on that. Yes, I do actually need things. I can have boundaries, and I do need to speak out about those boundaries. I can't just kind of hold them myself and just let other people walk all over them, or hope that other people are going to just like somehow like intuit that that is what my boundaries are. No, you know, that's not going to work. And so it does take some bravery, some courage to do this. And that is exactly what we're going to get, you know, with this eclipse. We're going to get a real boost of bravery, of courage, of self-centeredness coming through in this month. Okay, let me just have a look at the chart. Siren says, as Scorpios, we're very direct in our communication. So indirect communication of us would be that we don't communicate at all. Something like, yes, yeah. So it's interesting with Scorpios because Aries is Mars ruled. Scorpio is also a Mars ruled sign in traditional astrology. Like in modern astrology, they give Pluto as the ruler of Scorpio. But in traditional astrology, it's also Mars. And Scorpio is seen as almost like the feminine expression of Mars. So sometimes Scorpio, and that's why Scorpios get like a bad press for being like a bit brooding and moody. It's like, yeah, I'm just going to not talk. Whereas like Aries are like, you know, they normally talk quite a lot and are often quite direct in the communication, unless there's like other things going on in the chart. And I think this is why so many Aries women, like if you've got Aries sun or Aries rising, Aries women don't always present as Aries women because like they tend to like pull on other things in their chart to make them like a little bit more socially acceptable, because being like a forthright woman is, especially when you're younger as well, you know, like as we get older, we, you know, we give less F's about stuff like that. But when we're younger, that is not generally seen as being, it's definitely not seen as being very ladylike or attractive, you know. And so but you know, they are kind of generally more assertive, whereas Scorpios tend to just close down those channels of communication. It's like, yeah, no, okay, I want this, but you're not really getting it, so you know, there's gonna be nothing. And that also happens internally as well. It's like Scorpios can tend to cut themselves off from their own communications as well. So that'll be something really interesting to look into in this month of self-centeredness as well. Like if you've got a lot of Scorpio in your chart, if you're Scorpio sun, Scorpio rising, or just a lot of planets in Scorpio, Scorpio moons as well, definitely, then how are you actually in touch with your needs? A lot of Scorpios feel like they are like quite, like they've got a lot of emotions. There's so many emotions just there, you know, all the time. But sometimes those emotions can kind of cloud the actual kind of needs. It's hard to like really get to kind of granular detail sometimes with that. So yeah, that's something to look out for Scorpios, definitely. this month for sure. Michelle said, I'm probably on the more direct side of Libra because I've done a lot of healing and shadow work about people pleasing and healthy relationships. Yeah, same. I'm Libra rising, and that has been my that's my work in this lifetime. Like I love making connections with other people, but I also find it really difficult. And I've tended to be more forthright, especially as a younger person, and then realized that wasn't getting the results that I wanted, and then like tried to kind of diplomacy stuff. You know, it's always about finding, oh thank you, I'm from Wales, so it's a Welsh accent. It's always about kind of, Libra is always about finding balance, finding ways to be able to connect, but not self-sacrificing. Like a lot of people, and a lot of like unhealthy Libras, unhealed Libras can be self-sacrificing because there's the full prioritizing of the other, the full prioritizing of the relationship above the self. That's something that we really tend to do as Libras. So, you know, if you're Libra sun, Libra rising, Libra moon, that is something that, you know, you need to watch out for. And that is something that is coming up to be healed around this period of time now. You know, that's something that is very, we're working on it. That's what this eclipse season is for. We're working on that self-other. And like I said, keep coming back to that kind of keyword of self-centeredness. I'm going to center myself. I'm going to be really mindful of my communication, especially during that Mercury retrograde for the first three, you know, it's most of the month, Mercury's retrograde. And I'm going to figure out my needs, and I'm going to vocalize my needs. We're going to work with voice. That's something we're doing with Moonwise membership as well. We're working with the sirens this month, and a lot to do with like voice. Maybe we might even do some voice stuff as well. Like that would be some singing, maybe some chanting. Rita said, I gotta go to work and listen to the rest. Yeah, no worries, Rita. I've already talked for 24 minutes and I haven't like got into the full details yet, but there's like 2 other major things I want to talk about. But this will be available to watch afterwards, so that's fine. And if you want the link, like I said, of the more like breakdown, day by day kind of breakdown of what is going on, then just use the link in the description to sign up for that, and you can get that to your inbox on Monday. Art Sandwiches, I'm a Leo, and that's about all I know. That's fine. Like there's loads of, in fact, on my website, I've got a free chart calculator so you can put your birth details in. You need to know your time and your place of birth. The time is sometimes a little bit more difficult for people. And then you can get, and if you don't know your time, you can just put like 12 midday, or if you know you're like a kind of morning baby, just be kind of close enough. But the more specific you can be, the correct that you can be, then the more specific information you can get from that. Leo in this month is not like super directly stimulated. I'm just looking at my honeycomb planner here for the chart. So like I said, the main signs that are being activated a lot this month are Aries and Libra, because they're the ones that are bringing up that axis. And we've also got a lot of action in Pisces because there's a lot of planets in Pisces, and we've also got that big stuff going on in Taurus, which impacts on Scorpio because that is the opposite sign. The main thing that's going on for Leo, that is going to be happening for a long time now, for the next 20 years, but that's a shift that started this year, is that Pluto has moved into Aquarius. So Pluto is like a kind of planet of death and rebirth, and that is moving opposite your sun. So you might find that you're going through a kind of transition period, a period of change at the moment. But like I said, that's a long-term transit. That's something that's going to last for like 20 years. So you've got plenty of time to get on with that. Michelle says, yes, so true. Libra sun and moon. Yeah, so this came up early in life. I work a lot with my clients about feeling left to ask for our needs. Yes, Michelle's a life coach, and she's a brilliant life coach. So definitely click on her and check out her links and stuff as well. It is something we have to act like. That's the point, isn't it? We come here and we've got certain strengths and things that we come with, and that's what astrology can help us with, can tell us. And then we've got strengths and we've got things that we need to work on. And when we see our charts and we understand our charts, that's why I encourage people to get readings, get natal chart readings, because you can really kind of understand yourself a lot more. You can see these are my strengths, and a lot of the time people don't acknowledge their strengths enough, because they're strengths and they kind of come easy to us. Well, it's no big deal. But to other people it would be a big deal. And then our weaknesses, sometimes those weaknesses are like things we definitely know about. Sometimes they're in the chart in places where we're like, oh yeah, I know that that's a weakness. And then quite often there's other kind of like hidden weaknesses and stuff as well. But that's one of the things I love about working with astrology so much, is that we can work on this stuff. And because we can work with the different cycles as well, we can work with the moon cycle, which is like my favorite. That's why my whole membership is built around working with the moon cycle. But we also work with longer range cycles as well. So we work with the cycles of the sun, so over a whole year we can work on different things. And with longer range cycles as well, with the different cycles of the other planets, that we can make these changes. Like sometimes when you probably notice this in your own life, is sometimes when you try to make changes, it's really, really hard. And then other times it's easy and it's like, why is that? And when we look at the astrology, quite often that will show us why. So like that's what I'm saying to you now, is that because we've got this Aries eclipse, we've got that Aries Libra axis, so the things that we're working on is to do with self and other, and learning how to become self-centered without being a bitch. Like we're not going to be mean to other people, we're still going to be kind, but we are going to learn to center ourselves and to know ourselves and to have healthy boundaries around ourselves. That work is easier at this period of time now, because the astrology is all highlighting that anyway, and bringing in opportunities for changing patterns that have kind of been stuck that way, probably for like the last 18 years since we've been having this whole cycle, So if you've been stuck in a pattern for a really long time, we've got this opportunity to release that now. Or just a load of messages came up there. Michelle says, so funny you mentioned that US folks can get a birth certificate with time. Oh, okay, that's brilliant. That's really cool. I didn't know that. So if you're in the US, you can get, I don't know if you've got like a link for that, Michelle, maybe you could share that So if people did want to get the exact time, that would be really, really helpful, because I know so many people, and like you can do rectification as an astrologer, but it takes a really long time. And it's, you know, you have to kind of work off. It's hard to do with young people. It's much easier to do with older people because they've got more like significant life events, and you can like map the significant life events onto certain things that have been happening, certain transits and things like that. And you can kind of work out a birth time from that. But like if you can just get it. Although I will say what they've found is that the times on birth certificates are quite often like up to 20 minutes later than the actual time of birth, because, you know, like people clean up and they don't always like note it down exactly, because like most people who are in the birth room are not astrologers. So they like, it doesn't really matter, you know, like 20 minutes here or there is not going to make a big deal. But yeah, they have found that generally the time of births, like what we think are our birth times, are usually a little bit later than our actual birth times. Sometimes those who are particularly hard on themselves often don't, yeah, definitely. That's so true. They don't acknowledge their strengths because they're like, oh, everybody could do that. And then it's not, you can't own those strengths. And like, that's one of the things about becoming self-centered as well. It's like, yeah, I'm really, really fucking good at that, you know? But this I struggle with. And that's fine, you know, that's good. If we could do everything already, it's like, what's the point? Shell says, being a Taurus, I better watch out for a lot of things, especially my communication, which can be quite forthright, which is both a strength and a weakness. Yeah. So do you mean you're a Taurus sun, Shell? Is that what you're saying? Yeah. So like when this stuff that's happening now with Jupiter and Uranus in Taurus, if you're a Taurus sun, then that's going to really affect your sense of self, because where the sun is in your chart, it's like where you shine, it's like your kind of core being. So with this Jupiter Uranus shake up, it's going to be shaking up that kind of sense of self. It's like, oh, I thought I was this, but now I've actually realized I'm this as well, you know? It's so, yeah, it's cool. It's cool. Perspective shifts, definitely. Okay, Michelle said each state office runs them differently. So you have to go to your state office and pay, but it was only $10. Okay, that's amazing. Like we can't do that here. In the UK, it's not even, well, I don't know if it is now, but going back like 40 plus years when I was born, they didn't always record time on when people were born. They just put the parents' names and the place and date. Yeah, but that's cool. Yeah, Siren saying that in Canada, they don't include time. Yeah. Is it 25 years that the hospital keep? Okay, so that's only helpful if you're 25 years old. Oh, hey, Shaz. Nice to see you. So we've talked about Mercury retrograde, and I've said the best thing to do, because it is in Aries as well, you know, take care of your eyes, definitely. Take care of your head as well. Sometimes there's an added risk of like headaches and stuff during Mercury retrograde in Aries. And like there's a lot of Aries governs the top of our heads. So when there's a lot of Aries activations, we can get more headaches and stuff like that as well. So usually from like overactive, you know, it's like too much stimulation of the brain, too much. So also if you like struggle sleeping, that could be something that is exacerbated in this month as well. So try and really like slow down as much as you can, because the energy is like making us faster and faster. And if that's having a detrimental effect on your health, you know, try and like counteract that a little bit. Sometimes we can like work with the energy, and then sometimes we can learn to counteract the energy, and that helps us to be like in the best flow, the best balance of flow with what is going on. Yeah. Oh, cool. So Charles got your time. So maybe it is state by state there as well. Yes, Michelle. So yes, you can. That is what I was talking about with rectification, is that you can work that out, but it is quite difficult, and it's a lot easier with older people who have got they've got more life events, you know, that you can like map back and work that out when certain like progressions and things were happening, solar arcs and things were happening. It's like a whole thing. And like people charge like £300 odd or dollars for doing that process, because it does take a really long time. But it can be cool to do it. Oh yeah, people saying that they've noticed the head sensitivity. Yeah, I did specialized training in astrology for health, and it's so like it's one of the most tangible ways you can see astrology working in your life as well. You know, it's like, okay, there's a lot of stuff going on in Aries, I'm getting a lot of head stuff going on, you know, so it's the thing, you know, head. And also, like I said, with these eclipses, eyes. A lot of people are having problems like with irritated eyes and stuff like that as well. So we pay attention to that and be like, okay, how can I best help myself with that? Rather than just kind of like trying to, my daughter says, pog through the pain. That's probably a very teenage thing to do, but you know, rather than just kind of like putting on a brave face and trying to push yourself through it, pay attention to yourself, because when you pay attention to yourself, you're showing yourself how valuable you are, how much you value yourself. Yeah. So this is what happens when you don't have major life events to go by. You will though, like you will have major life events. Like sometimes it's like people who are close to you who died maybe, or like sometimes if you've moved to a different place, things like that. Like I'm not saying it has to be like, you know, something like winning the lottery or something like that. It doesn't have to be like mega out of the ordinary type stuff. It's like things that happen over the course of a lifetime, and you can kind of see how that works out. Yeah. Yeah, okay, so that's the Mercury retrograde and that is the eclipse. Let's talk a bit about, well, let's talk like a little bit about the fact that there's still a lot of Piscean energy going on, because that is kind of like the bit of the counterbalance. And when I talk about Aries ruling the head, Aries is the first sign and it rules the head. Pisces is the last sign in the zodiac and it rules the feet. So we've got that kind of like top and toe emphasis going on in this month, because in Pisces we've got Saturn in Pisces, which has been there for quite a long time now. We've got Mars going through Pisces. We've got Venus in Pisces just for a little short period at the beginning of the month, the first week of the month. We've also got Neptune at home in Pisces as well. So we have got this watery kind of emotional Piscean backdrop to all this that is going on as well, which can really influence our ability to be creative. It can also influence us to be more kind of like dreamy and sensual as well, which I think is a nice, like, you know, like literally head and toe opposition to that Aries energy. So we can kind of lean into that. And like I've been trying to do like regular foot massages while we've been having this Venus in Pisces, because I just find that it's like foot massages are always lovely, foot baths are always lovely. I think I really enjoy them. Like if you've got a lot of Pisces in your chart, you probably enjoy them too. Pisces is my 6th house, is the house of health. So when I find that my feet, like things like reflexology and stuff like that, are just so good for me because they have a really big impact on my health. But just in general, when we've got Pisces emphasized like we have at the moment, if you look after your feet, like our feet are the place, what we place on the earth. They are the grounding point. They are the anchor of us on earth. And so when we pay attention to our feet, it can help us to ground that energy. So rather than it being all up in our heads in that Aries place, which, you know, is getting a lot of stimulation, and with Taurus as well, like Taurus rules the bottom of the face as well, so like jaw clenching, you know, grinding teeth in the night, things like that. You know, there's a lot of stuff going on up here. So if you can try and drag that energy down to the feet and let it out, you know, let it kind of go out into the earth, we can really like move with that energy then and help us to feel grounded. And like in order to feel centered, like I was saying, like this month is about being self-centered, we need to kind of feel safe and anchored. Like it's hard to feel centered if you're like being buffeted around everywhere, you know. In order to feel like properly centered, you need to feel safe, and having a nice firm foundation, which is what your feet are, that gives us that. So like looking after your feet in general could be a really good counterbalance. If you are finding you get a lot of like eye irritation, a lot of headaches, spending some time on your feet and kind of really visualizing bringing that energy down to your feet will help with that. It'll help to release that. Also, if you are having problems with insomnia, sometimes having like a cool foot bath before you go to bed can really help you to sleep better, again because it's just bringing that energy down to your feet. It's like people are like, I don't want to put my feet in cold water before I go to bed, but it doesn't have to be freezing cold, but just cool water, and keep your feet cool before you get into bed is surprising. It like has such a brilliant effect on people's sleep. So that's something to try if you are struggling with that overactive brain energy that is going on in this month. Okay, so the other major thing is that Jupiter and Uranus conjunction. So I've talked about it a little bit, but let's just go into it in a little bit more detail. So Uranus, like I said, has moved into Taurus a few years ago now. It was around like when we had like COVID and everything like that, because like all the supply chains were being disrupted, and things like energy prices have gone crazy, food prices in general. It's those kind of things that are kind of everyday basics. Taurus is that sign which is, it's the Empress, it's that divine feminine, that kind of grounded, earthy divine feminine energy. And Taurus likes comforts, likes to kind of know where your next meal, you know, like a lot of Tauruses like to know, especially Taurus moon. I've got a Taurus moon. It's like, I like to know when my next meal is happening and what it's going to be. Because it helps us kind of feel safe, and it helps us feel connected, and like the kind of sensory side of like eating and feeling grounded and stuff is very Taurian. Well, when Uranus moved into Taurus, it started to kind of shake up that Taurus energy. And like when Uranus is in other signs, like Uranus in Aquarius, for example, which is like its modern ruler sign, Aquarius is already a very kind of like fast pace and you know, changing sign. Like it's got the ability to change, even though it's a fixed sign, because it's air, it's got that kind of changing ability. Or Uranus in Gemini, it's like, yeah, okay, I can do this, I can kind of go with the flow kind of thing, with it, kind of adapt to the sudden changes. Taurus does not like to adapt to sudden changes. They said Taurus rising, I feel like the hobbits, always thinking about my next meal. Yes, hobbits are so Taurus, aren't they? They're so like connected to the earth and to the cycles. Like that's such a Taurian thing. Yeah, that's really funny. And also, you know, like you want breakfast and you want second breakfast. And then like an 11Z's kind of thing. Is that comfort that we get from kind of like habits and routines and knowing what to expect. And so Uranus comes along like shaking things up in Taurus, and it's like, oh, you know, this is not, it doesn't feel comfortable. And depending on your own sign, like if you are very heavily Aquarius, or you're more Gemini, or if you're in, you know, even Leos, who else are kind of a little bit more, any of the mutable signs actually, Virgo, you know, to a certain extent, Pisces, you can kind of adapt, you can change, you can flow with the different changes. But Taurus is like, it's fixed earth. It's like the least changing of the signs. It dislikes change the most out of all the signs. And so we're having this kind of disruptive feel that has been going on since Uranus has been in Taurus. And then Jupiter moved into Taurus last year and has been kind of heading closer, because Jupiter moves faster than Uranus. So Jupiter's kind of like been heading closer and closer and closer to Uranus in Taurus. And Jupiter is quite nice in Taurus. I like that. It's kind of got that expansive feel to it. It can help us feel like when Jupiter moved into Taurus, we started to see a little settling down in the prices and things like that, of foods and energy prices especially. But as they're moving closer together, Jupiter tends to magnify things. It tends to like, it's like, I'll take this energy and I'll just 10x it. So I think when they come together, we might see some, like on a global scale, we might see some more like kind of food shortages. We might see changes in energy prices and things like that. Those things that we've been seeing anyway while Uranus has been in Taurus. But like on a personal level, I'm actually quite looking forward to it. I think it's going to be, again, like another change-making moment in this month. And it's allowing us to like I said, Taurus doesn't like to change, but we all need to change, because change is growth, isn't it? Like if we stay exactly the same, we can't grow. You know, we're kind of caged almost, we're stuck. And so having that kind of boost of changing energy, especially in that divine feminine sign of Taurus, I feel like it's kind of a positive sign in general for divine feminine and women in the world. And like we might see some pushback as well, you know, around some of the things like women's rights and stuff like that going on. Yeah, I mean, I'm looking forward to it. I think it's going to be, again, like I said, a change-making thing, and depending on where Taurus is in your chart, and like, you know, if you're Taurus sun, Taurus rising, Taurus moon, you're going to feel this very strongly. But if, you know, other signs too, like none of us are going to miss this. And like this conjunction is not something that happened. This is only going to happen once in our lifetime, because of the speed in which both of those planets, well, I suppose Yeah, because by the time Jupiter comes round again, Uranus will have moved on. So yeah, I think this is it. I think this is it. So this is our one chance to kind of do that energy. Laura says, my birthday is on the 8th. What does that mean since it's on the eclipse? Okay, so yeah, so you're an Aries sun. So happy birthday for the 8th. When we have our solar return on an eclipse, that can be, you know, it signals like whenever we have a solar return, it's kind of like a fresh start. It's a reset for us. Every month, every year when we come around to that birthday point, it's like, boom, okay, we can reset. And when that comes around on an eclipse, which it does, you know, like for all of us over our lifetimes, we'll have certain periods of time which will be, which will fall on eclipses. We'll have certain birthdays that fall very close to eclipses. That will have a more significant impact. So whenever we have the reset button, we always have a chance for a fresh start. But when you have the eclipse on your birthday, it's even more so. So anything that has kind of been troubling you, or you think, I don't want to, like, you know, like when we talk about like leaving, like leave what no longer serves you kind of thing behind, you can really do that now. So I would like work on in the, you know, in this week leading up to your birthday, work on figuring out what it is that you kind of want to, and see that eclipse like an eclipse is like a portal. We can step through that door and then it literally does like slam behind us. So anything that we want to leave behind, leave that behind. And that goes for all of us, you know, because we're all going to be experiencing this eclipse, but it will be even more potent when it is falling on your actual birthday. You know, it's going to be even more potent for people with a lot of Aries placements in their chart. But yeah, especially amplified if it's happening on your birthday, definitely. So, but yeah, don't be scared about it. See it as an opportunity. Yeah. So like I said, I've got a much more detailed breakdown, like literally key dates of everything that is going on, because there's some like really nice things. We've got Venus conjunct Neptune in Pisces happening this month. We've got the Sun conjunct the North Node, which is really nice as well. What other aspects? There's loads of some really nice. We've got the Sun moving into Taurus. The Sun moves into Taurus like halfway through the month on April the 19th. So we get Taurus season starting. So that's going to make Taurus feel nice as well. You know, we've got the Sun there. And that actually happens before we have that Jupiter and Uranus conjunction as well, which is why I think it is going to be a more kind of positive net outcome for us all. What else have we got? We got Mars moving into Aries, Mars moving into its own sign of Aries at the very end of the month. So there's a whole load of things happening. Like I said, if you want to get that more granular breakdown, if you sign up for the Moonday Magic Mail, which is linked in the description for this video, then you'll get an email on Monday with a link to that. So you'll be able to see all the, you know, you can pop it in your diary if you want to. I know some people like to do that so they can kind of see how that is all kind of panning out. So, are you welcome, Laura? That's fine. What's the siren say? Moving to move, yeah. So that is a really big, obviously that's a really big shift. That would be something that is, if you've been thinking about it, you're probably going to want to take action around that Aries, you know, because Aries is like, so, although we have got Mercury retrograde at the moment, so I wouldn't like book your ticket, but, you know, make a commitment to yourself, perhaps, around that. Siren says, I was speaking to someone regarding the divine feminine, how I feel I disconnect with divine feminine, I need to work on it, but not really knowing why or how to connect. Yeah, I mean, the divine feminine is buried in our culture. She is definitely there, but she's buried. And so the way I'm thinking about it these last few years, I've been talking and thinking about like remembering. Like when we think of dismembering something, we're like cutting it up and chopping it up and getting rid of it, and that's what's happened to the divine feminine. She's been like chopped up and put in all these like different things which are kind of a little bit her but not the whole of her, and we are remembering her now. We are gathering those bits of divine feminine and reconstructing them, remembering her into existence. And like we're all doing this work. There's so many people coming. That's why I love like when I started this channel a few years ago now, like there weren't many people around me locally. Like I was doing like women's circles and stuff here. So I was working with some women like that on a like a local level, but then seeing the stretch of how it is resonating for women so much now on a more global level, it's exciting. I think it's exciting, and I think definitely this month we're going to see, I think we'll see some pushback. I think we'll see some pushback against women's rights, but we're also going to see some consolidation as well, and some like that's when we do our own personal work of becoming self-centered and learning to speak out about things. That ripples out, and that has a much bigger effect on everyone than we realize ourselves. Yeah. Okay, I'm going to get the cards out now. So I've got this Tarot of Mystical Moments. And like I said, I will take a photograph of the cards that come out, and also put those with the astrology, so you know you can have it all together in one place. I know I like to have it all together in one place. So it works out good for me. I just need to do this little shuffle. So this deck is quite nice. It's a little bit like strange. It's like a collage deck, but I do like it. So I think I'm going to take 2 cards. Maybe we'll take another one. We'll see what comes out first of all. Audrey, is this your favourite deck? I kind of like it. Some of the cards are probably my favourite like examples of those cards. But as a whole, it's not like a, I don't know. I do obviously really like it. But Sam says we need it since Divine Feminine's under attack. Yeah, and like has been under attack for like 6,000 years, really, like, and significantly so for the last 2,000. Siren says this video has been so helpful and thought-provoking. Oh, you're welcome. I'm so glad. I mean, that's why that's why I want to be able to do this and to connect with people like this, because it helps me, because I know that there's other people there who are feeling like I'm feeling, and like connecting in these ways that we're not really, it's like, oh no, that's not real, you know. So many people are about like, that's not scientific to use astrology or use tarot. And I think just kind of connecting with other people who understand that yes, it is real, is so helpful. We're literally re-enchanting the world. We're not going to take a dead world anymore. We're re-enchanting it. Michelle says, I hope we can continue these themes and conversations in the Facebook group. Yes, love. That's a great idea as well. We can take some of those things, and maybe that whole theme of being self-centered, maybe I'll make like a graphic or something and put it in there about that as well, because that was something that just kind of came up during this video. I hadn't like hit on that as like the theme. So yeah, self-centered and like what that means. Okay, let's have a look what we got. Oh wow, okay. So the first card that we've got out here is the Ace of Pentacles. Siren says, you are our personal astrologer. People had them in ancient times. They did. The rich and famous people had them in ancient times. So that's really cool. I love that. And I love how, like, because we can connect like this across the internet and stuff like that as well, we've got the opportunity to connect like that with other people. And yes, continued conversation, solidarity, and knowing that other people are feeling and like doing this work is really, really, really helpful. Yeah. Michelle said, do you still offer astrology consulting? But yes, I do. Yeah. So I offer natal chart astrology consults, which is like, it usually takes it's a couple of hours usually, but we do that on Zoom and we go through like every single thing in your chart. And that's so cool, and I record it so like you can watch it back, because quite often there's a lot of stuff that comes out with it. And I also have some other like combination astrology and tarot readings on there as well. In fact, I got like a birthday one, which is really cool as well for people if they have like around their birthdays. It's a really good time to have that, which is kind of like looking at like the current things that are headed up. Because for me, like understanding your natal chart is key. It's brilliant because you can really get a handle on everything, but it's also really important to be like grounded in the now as well, and in a practical sense be able to like work with the current energies. And like we've done that together here, talking about the general energies that are surrounding all of us, but they're all going to be hitting us a little bit differently depending on our own personal charts, you know. So having that more specific personal reading can be really, really helpful. So yeah, you can check those out on my website. I think the website should be linked in the description as well, although I haven't looked at those links for a while, so some of those links might not be, but the website should be fine. The website should be there. So Ace of Pentacles, look at this gorgeous Ace of Pentacles. So Pentacles is an earth sign, and the ace is the very first number in Pentacles. And we've got this woman who's like sitting, and you can see there's like a fern that is coming up out of the ground, and the root of it is going deep, deep, deep into the earth. And I feel like that's connecting so much with that. Like we talked about it, like it happens all the time. And even though it happens all the time when I'm doing readings, it's still like, yes, every single time. It's like, we talked about this. We talked about how we need to be grounded. We need to be centered. We need to be centered in self and rooted into the earth to feel safe and to be able to speak our truth and to be able to like resonate that out into the world. And so like this Ace of Pentacles is really like showing the stuff that we see above the surface is just a it's just the top of it, you know. It all goes so much deeper. It all goes so much deeper than we realize. And I feel like that is a very divine feminine thing as well. It's like we are much more held. We've got a lot more support than we're kind of like allowed to believe that we have now. We do have guides around us. We do have that divine feminine connection rooting us down. And we've just got that. We've got much more support, and we've got this potential now, this potential of like new things being growing all the way up and just kind of showing it. And it is just showing. So like this month, big shifts are going to happen. And like I said right at the very beginning, most of those shifts are kind of internal, first of all, but we will start to make those shifts inside that then start to become shown on the outside, and those things are going to become tangible. Like they might be a new, like, because it's pentacles, it might be like new health goals, it might be new money goals, things like that, things we're working towards. And the reason we're working towards those now is because we can make that shift, we can make that change within us that then allows us to be able to do those things. We can remove the blockages now. Yeah. So just, can you do that if I don't have a birth time on your rough estimate? You can, but it is much more accurate if you can get a birth time. Yeah, we can have a chat about that. Siren is one of the admin in the Facebook group as well, so we know each other. We're in contact regularly, so we can have a chat about that another time, definitely. Michelle says, thank you. I've been setting aside funds for that, hopefully seasonal check-in session. Oh, great. Yeah, that'll be really fun, Michelle. It'll be really, really cool, especially now you've got your birth time off your certificate as well. So we're working with that Ace of Pentacles energy. What else have we got? Ooh, okay. Beautiful. We've got Six of Wands. Look at that, gorgeous. Like, these are the sort of cards I'm just like, yes, this is amazing. So we've got like what looks like a giant hummingbird just kind of going into that. It looks like a rose, like a wild rose. And the Six of Wands is... it's like a very celebratory energy. It's like the Six of Wands in the traditional Rider-Waite-Smith tarot is like it's a celebration. So like often like seen as a card that you get when people are about to get married. It's like kind of taking the kudos of the work that you've done is paying off, and you're kind of getting those kudos, you're getting that admiration, and like it's got that fiery energy to it because Wands is to do with fire. And so we've got that idea of like, and look how the bird is like sampling the flower, like the flower, and she's holding it. So it's almost like she's using the flower, the rose, to like, it's almost like, you know, like people have like a donkey with a carrot to like lead that. And I feel like what that is saying is that we have got the tools to be able to kind of channel that fiery energy where we want it to go. We can lead ourselves now. You know, that's what it means to be self-centered, is to be self-sovereign as well, to be the leader of ourselves. And yes, we're not going to necessarily do it alone. We may need help to, yes, like the horse and the carrot, or the donkey and the carrot. We can direct our energy now into the things which are going to take us where we want to go. And again, like the rose is one of the oldest flowers in the world, and is very, very intimately connected with divine feminine energy. So it's like using that divine feminine within us, we can lead ourselves, direct that fiery energy where it is that we need to go. And like, yeah, like I've been saying all the way through this, we've got this potential for change now. So let's really seize that and create something, create a shift in ourselves that is going to start to pan out in a more tangible way, probably like 6 months down the line when we get to kind of like the autumn equinox kind of time. Yeah. Trish says there's no record anywhere what time I was born and nowhere else. Says, oh, I'm sorry, Trish. Like, if you know, like I said, you can use rectification, and like you can learn to do that yourself, or you can pay somebody to do that, but it is expensive, and because it takes a long time to do it. Yeah, like if you've got a rough time, like if you know that, like a lot of the time people be like, oh yeah, you were born in the morning, and sometimes they'll remember something like, I don't know, we just had breakfast, or it was at dawn, you know. Sometimes people will remember things like that, but you know, especially when people have had a few children, they sometimes like forget, or they confuse, like, was that child, or was that child, kind of thing, you know. So it's tricky, but it's not impossible. It's not impossible. So has anyone, Michelle says, I see hummingbirds as very spiritual spirits. Yes. Yes, definitely. Hummingbirds have got, and like very Mercury energy as well, that kind of like in the air, and like almost, it looks still, but yeah, it's moving so fast, you know. That's very Mercury energy, and we've got that Mercury retrograde. So let's direct that Mercury retrograde energy in a more positive way for us, rather than kind of being a victim of that Mercury retrograde as well, you know. We can direct our, and Mercury is very much connected to magic, to spellcraft and stuff like that as well. So we can use tools like that to be able to release those things that are like, you know, those self-other issues that we have probably been harboring for a really, really long time. Yeah, yeah. Okay, so we are up to an hour, so I'm going to end the live stream and say goodbye to you all, but I'm going to, like I said, I will write up our cards and I will add those to the other information I've got, which has got like some practical information. It's also got like a breakdown of all the days, and if you want that, then you can sign up for that in the link of this video as well. You can get the Moonday Magic Mail, which you will have a link then sent to your email on Monday. Pam says, this is so great, good energy here. Yes, such lovely. It's felt really, really lovely. It's really fun. And the time has gone so fast. So that's always a good sign, I think, isn't it, when it goes so quickly like that? Yeah. Yeah, thank you so much for being here, all of you. I'm sending you so many blessings, and just dream big, guys. Dream really big, because some really big shifts and changes can happen now. Yeah, this month of this year has been on the horizon. Like, I've been noticing that this is coming up for a while now. So yeah, yeah. Okay. Bye.